Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more Legacy action. Today, at the request of a donor, we are exploring the space of Monoblack Aggro. This deck is pretty solid in Legacy, and there was a little list a while back that ran some Urza Sagas in like a Death Shadow build, but we're just trying to see how good the Urza Saga package is here, so it's sort of putting into a more traditional looking version of the deck. So for those who are unaware, Moonshadow is a 1 mana 7/7 menace, enters with 6/1 counters. Whenever one or more permanent cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you remove a counter. So when we crack a fetch land or a Wasteland or a Bauble, while this is in play, it's going to scale up. And it should be a pretty big creature. We're pairing it with Nethergoyf, which is, in my opinion, the best of the 1 mana threats you can play in Mono Black. Now, I think running 8 of these threats in total is pretty good. And you can then go to things like Stalactite Stalker if you want more. But Nethergoyf is the best one because you don't need to scale this up after the fact. Like, this can scale up a little bit, then get removed, but this is always going to come in as a big creature when you're just playing the game normally. On top of that, we've got Bowmaster and Dauthi, which are just good ways of hosing opponent strategies while also just being fine cards that are on a good rate, and we have Big Barrowgoyf at the top of the curve. Our removal consists of Fatal Pushes and Bit of Triumph. We've also got some Thoughtseizes to mess our opponent's hand. So the Urza Saga package, we've got some things you would expect, so your Nihil Spellbomb, your Shadowspear, your Lavaspur Boots, and then something you wouldn't expect. Zuran Orb. Now, first things first, I love Zuran Orb. It's one of my favourite cards. And in our deck, it can just allow us to grow a Moonshadow out of nowhere. So we can just sacrifice a bunch of lands and get this nice and big. On top of this, we're also running Eumidian Hatchery. So this is a card that we want to sacrifice to a Zuran Orb. And sometimes when you're playing this deck, you want to actually wasteland your own lands to make the Moonshadow bigger. Why not have a couple of lands that actually want to be wastelanded in these Eumidian Hatcheries? So that's kind of cool. And because we have the Urza Saga, we effectively have 5 copies of Zuran Orb on our deck, so we should be able to find it relatively often to get our hatchery popped. And if not, we can always just point a Wasteland at it. So there's a decent number of ways that we can get there. And I'm running a 1-of Ghost Quarter, which is sometimes going to be good to take out like a Maze of Ith to stop our creature being lethal, whatever, so we can just say no to that. But this can also just target our own hatchery. And then what happens there is we get 1 trigger for Moonshadow, a 2nd trigger from the hatchery dying, then we get a land into play. And if we've got a Zuran Orb, we can then sacrifice it. So we can get 3 triggers, which would be kind of cool. We got Surveil Land and Basics and Fetch Lands, just all the stuff you'd expect. As for the sideboard, we're gunning for some combo decks here. We've got some Mindbreak Traps, we've got some Null Rods. Now, Null Rods will step on our own toes a little bit, but in the matchups where you need Null Rod, like the Storm decks, you really need it. So here we are. We've got ourselves a Toxic Deluge and a Dread of Night. These are mainly for the Go Wide Ocelot Pride decks. If you're unfamiliar with Dread of Night, it's an enchantment. White creatures get -1/-1. Sign me up for that. No more little kitty cats. We've got Hymn to Tourach just as an extra piece of hand disruption to help against matchups like Show and Tell, where our other combo pieces aren't great. And then we've got Graveyard Hate in, Grafdigger's Cage, and Surgical Extraction. Obviously, the Cage we can fetch up with the Saga. And then we have a Pithing Needle, which again is another Saga target. So that's what we're trying today. I don't think this is going to be the best build of what you can play for this Mono Black shell. Maybe there's a really cool version that runs Eumidian Hatcheries and the Saga and also Death Shadow. Maybe that's somewhere we could look at next. But we're just going to try and explore a little bit and see where we go, and hopefully surprise some people with a bit of Zuran Orb action. So remember to like and subscribe, it really does help the channel out and doesn't cost you anything, and let's get stuck in. For free, fast and secure worldwide shipping on high-end singles, classic products and full sets, check out 3for1 Trading. Whether it's the legacy or pre-modern that I play on this channel, or even vintage and old school, they've got you covered. Find them through the link in the description of this video and use my code COW3 for free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. This hand is a little bit too land dense for my liking. I think we can do better. I will keep this one. I'm not in love with it though. Maybe get a free win by playing a turn 1 Nihil Spellbomb here. I'm going to pull the wool over the eyes of a Once Upon a Time into Utsal Spells style hand. Probably not. You don't see a lot of Once Upon a Time in Utsal Spells. There was once a time where this saw play, but that was when All Spells was a bit more of a fringe deck. I imagine we're probably looking at something more like a Cradle Control style deck. Yep, and this confirms it. So the Nihil Spellbomb will have text in this matchup. We need to decide what we're doing next turn. Like, we can play the Saga out, but then if we're doing that, are we being able to play the Barrowgoyf next? Alright, so this is a Moonshadow build. Everyone's playing Moonshadow today. A Nethergoyf. So what I could do here is I could hold up a Surveil Land and a crack of the Nihil Spellbomb whilst just deploying this Nethergoyf. We don't have any fear of Orcish Bowmasters because we can just crack our fetch land. So let's just play this Nethergoyf. It's only a 0/1, but we have the ability to make it into a 2/3 really quickly. Next turn we can play the Saga plus the Barrowgoyf. And the Saga does give us another card type later on when we put an enchantment in the graveyard. Stitcher's Supplier. Okay, our opponent's doing some cool stuff over there. Right, so this is going to grow the Moonshadow 1. So this only grows for each time 1 or more cards. So if you put 3 cards in at the same time, it only grows 1. A Dryad Arbor. Getting attacked for 2. It doesn't seem like a great attack here because we can threaten a 2-3. Alright, we're just getting a Hogak in straight away. Not surprised to see that there. Interesting. They're giving us the ability to kill their guy here. Oh, no, they're not, because this has got Menace, hasn't it? So we're going to get this Undercity Sewers and just Surveil here. Don't need another land at this point. I think we're just going to die to the Hogak. A little bit late, Mr. Dauthi Voidwalker. Let's get this Urza Saga in and jam a Barrowgoyf. This can trade with the Hogak, which will also grow this Nethergoyf a little bit. We don't have any good attacks here. They don't need to attack with the Hogak, though. They could attack with the Moonshadow, but we can obviously block it and grow both of our guys by 1 by putting the Spellbomb into the bin. But I don't really want to trade my Barrowgoyf for a Moonshadow. This has to trade with the Hogak. Grist the Hunger Tide. That's a pretty good card. So they can sacrifice the Stitcher Supplier to blow up the Barrowgoyf. And our opponent's just doing a lot more stuff than we are here. So goodbye, little Barrowgoyf. They're also going to grow their Moonshadow in this little moment as well. Our opponent's deck looks sweet. Alright, they're getting rid of the Dryad Arbor instead. That's weird to me because you get extra value from the Stitcher Supplier because you get 2 grows on the Moonshadow. They're going to come in with both of these guys. I think we're just taking 12 here. And then we probably just need to top deck another Barrowgoyf or scoop it up. A Moonshadow. You can play a Moonshadow, grow Moonshadow a little bit. Is it enough to soak up the damage? Not really. Grist is obviously pretty nice with the Moonshadow as well. This puts us to 4, which is not ideal. We can make another blocker and crack the Spellbomb, which grows both of these. I guess that's probably what we're on here. We want to crack the fetch hand early to make sure we don't have to try and play around Orcish Bowmasters, or if they have a Wasteland that they play, we can't crack our fetch to go and make an Urza Saga construct because they can hit it in response. So it's just way better to crack on our turn there. I'm not sure that minor optimization is going to help us here. Alright, so they're growing the Moonshadow again. Kind of needed them to not grow that. But maybe their whole deck. We've seen Once Upon a Time in Thoughtseize actually. So there are hits that wouldn't grow the Moonshadow. But I imagine they're very, very permanent focused with just a bunch of lands and creatures. I don't believe we get to survive this one. Alright, they're snuffing out our construct token. We're definitely dead there. And we can soak up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. And then we're dead to the other thing. Yeah. Alright, our opponent just did similar but better things than us. Understood. Alright, I will have a removal spell. I'm kind of interested in him to Tourach. If we're both doing the same thing, having a 2 for 1 on our deck probably doesn't hurt. Pithing Needle for the Grist is also interesting. How do I feel about our deck here? Fatal Pushes look great. Bit of Triumph looks great. I don't know if we want the Toxic Deluge. There's a possibility that we do. The Dauthi Voidwalker looks great. Bowmasters can pick off some stuff, but it's not going to be amazing here. It's just going to be fine, but I think that's also good enough. Maybe it's just the Thoughtseize, and we just want to play to the board here. Maybe get this Toxic Deluge in. If our opponent has a good start, we can sweep out their board. They're probably going to have Mana Dorks or something like that. If they're playing Grist and the White of the Reliquary, you need enough creatures to feed it. Makes sense. Okay, we have removal spells. This seems good. We can lead off on Moonshadow. We do get blown out if they go Mox Diamond into Bowmasters. That is the punish for playing out the Moonshadow like this instead of waiting a turn. But it gets to attack if we play it on turn 1. So we can attack on turn 2 after growing it. So I think the majority of the time it's going to work out better. We don't even know if our opponent's running Mox Diamond. I wouldn't be like super surprised if they're running it. But it's not one of the things I'm expecting them to have. We're just going to be dueling Moonshadows. Or just a fatal push. Dueling Moonshadows. They do have the nicer looking ones, to be fair. Although this looks pretty nice too. Alrighty. What is the plan here? I think the plan is Mishra's Bauble. Let's have a little peek. It is annoying that they managed to actually leverage a snuff out against us in the previous game. Not that I'm expecting that to be a big thing. We were already losing that game anyway. Let's jam this Dauthi Voidwalker, which shuts off their Moonshadow. Which means now any removal they have has to go on the Dauthi, because this just shuts their whole deck down. They can't Hogak, they can't grow their Moonshadow. White of the Reliquary is a lot worse. Grist is a little bit worse. Like, Grist is still going to be able to pump out tokens and kill stuff. Another Moonshadow. You got it. My Dauthi Voidwalker looks incredibly good here. Are you coming in? Okay, so this means we're just free to get in our attacks as well. Another Fatal Push. What do we want to do here? Do we want to just start this Urza Saga running? Because if they Wasteland it, it grows our guy. And that seems like a reasonable place for us to be. We can start out muscling them even further. Right, you're just going for it straight away. Okay, my Moonshadow grows, yours doesn't. That seems good to me. We've got a couple of Fatal Pushes if we need to do anything. Otherwise, we can just chill out. Dauthi Voidwalker being an absolute beating here. We know they've got this Stitcher Supplier in hand as well. Here it is. Would you like to exile a bunch of cards and maybe give us something sweet? No, no Hogak's there. Not sure if we even play a Hogak if they have one. What are we doing here? I think we're just happy to go to our turn here. Let's get a Saga, get that tick in, get a Bauble in. Aggro, 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 let's go. They can triple block this, but they don't die, so they have to double block it and just trade two things for no value here. I will still do this now anyway. We're going to do it. Might as well do it. Okay, Hogak. That card is uncastable. I take a little bit of damage there. Get a nice little bonus card. It's not really a bonus card. We traded a card for it anyway, but still. We have enough stuff to win the game already. Extra cards from this point is just nice. So how does our opponent get out of this one? Anything has to start with removing our Dauthi Voidwalker, or just scooping up and going to game 3 is probably an actual better way of doing things. I like how we sideboarded here. Grafdigger's Cage does shut down specifically Hogak. And they might have like Cabal Therapy in there. I think our best ways of dealing with that is Dauthi Voidwalker and the Nihil Spellbomb just stripping out the graveyard. I think we're just going to resubmit here. Now you could argue that we could take out a Bauble so that we have the Grafdigger's Cage. Actually, I think I might like that. Have we got time to do that, or have I already submitted? Already submitted. Maybe I'd trim one Bauble for a cage there. Removal spell for their first threat. Him to break up their hand a little bit. Another removal spell. This seems fine. We don't have a threat, but our deck is pretty threat dense, so we can probably draw into them. We can get a Bauble off early, so we don't have to worry about getting hit by Bowmasters. Although our opponent hasn't shown us Bowmasters yet, but surely they have it because it's one of the better creatures in black. Polluted Delta from our opponent. I assume that's what they lead with. It is. I'm suspecting we're going to see a basic swamp into something. Ooh, a Bayou. An Ignoble Hierarch. Given the power of some of our opponent's threats, am I willing to burn a Fatal Push on Ignoble Hierarch? I don't think I am. Like, I know people like the whole Bolt the Birds metric, but I don't always think that's the right thing to do. Let's have a look at what they're working with next turn. Maybe that gives us some more information. Yeah, I'd much rather hit a White of the Reliquary. Am I going to play out this? Like, we're almost certainly going to be Fatal Pushing. But I think I'm just going to play this one out and save the Marsh Flats here. If for some reason they don't play anything that we want to Fatal Push, that'd be just a really weird situation. If they get a Bowmasters to try and ping us here, we can just shoot the Bowmasters down and that's fine. I just let us take the card. They've thought about it for a while, which maybe suggests they have a Bowmasters. Or maybe they just don't have an upkeep stop and they weren't expecting it to stop them there. A Moonshadow. Sure. We're going to see the White of the Reliquary as well. We're not. I wonder if they're playing Veil of Summer. Possible. I'm not going to play around it, but there's something that just appeared on my radar with them not playing out this White of the Reliquary. Let's try and kill this. We can sort of play a control-y game here with the tools we have access to. Moonshadow sees itself die, but doesn't get to remove counters because it's already dead. So this turn, we could just... Ooh, it's very hard to pass up this Bowmaster, isn't it? Alright. Let's get this Saga burn in. This is a much better tool to blow up an Ignoble Hierarch with. Now, this could also hit a Moonshadow, but I think just getting this out now makes a lot of sense. Now, they did sort of suggest they might have their own Bowmaster, which is, you know, fine. That creature is relatively low impact against a deck like ours. We've already gone through one Bauble. We don't have many other draw effects. We doing anything with that mana there, opponent? It is the Bowmasters. So the stop and the upkeep was the Bowmasters that we suspected they might have. They can take out our army. So they know that the army is more important than the Bowmasters there. That's how this actually works in the matchup. Because a creature that can be 2-2 or 3-3 ends up being a lot more important than this 1-1. So I like our opponent identifying that. I don't think you play this pre-combat. I think you want to attack me first with the Orc army. Because you're probably willing to trade this Orc army for the Bowmasters maybe. Or at least trade Bowmasters. No, that's not going to work, is it? Oh, okay, we're doing a Hogak. That makes all the sense now. So we've got a removal spell for the Hogak, which is something. Opponent's got a couple of cards in hand. This is ticking up. I don't think we get to make a guy here is the problem. We probably have to just answer this, which then means what? We get to play out this on white of the Reliquary. Do we want to have multiple black here? Or are we okay playing this out and saving this? No, I think I'm going to play this out and get a swamp. And I think this is a Pithing Needle, white of the Reliquary. Like, our opponent's deck goes a little bit bigger than ours with stuff like these, because these can actually outclass our creatures. Barrowgoyf is our main way of being bigger than this. I wonder what we pitch to this bit of Triumph. We probably just pay 3 life. I think there's a good spot for all of these cards. I think this is going to be more about resource and chipping in damage, because this thing is just big. We can't really afford to let that rumble. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're pretty close to casting the Hogak again. I'm getting in with these two. Now the issue here is that if we shoot the Hogak, they sacrifice it into a land, which maybe gets them closer to where they need to be here. I'm willing to make you play this other Bowmasters, perhaps. Let's try and kill this Hogak here. They're not going to be able to convoke it this turn, but they will be able to sack it to this white of the Reliquary and grow their white to deal damage to us here. But taking 4 off of this instead of taking 11 from both of these makes a lot more sense. Maybe we can remove the last of their hand, go and get the Nihil Spellbomb, get rid of this forever. Okay, we're trading off bodies. We're taking 4 damage from the white, a bit more than I would like to take. Hopefully there's nothing exciting as a follow-up from our opponent. Stitcher's Supplier. Are you kidding me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they can re-up with the Hogak just before we get to do this. So there was a chance that we could take the 8 damage. I think we just had to hope they didn't have the guy. But maybe that was just a pipe dream. We're supposed to take the 8. But I think going to 4 on this board... I guess we actually go to 5, wouldn't we? Because we take 1 less from the white. But I think going to 5 when they've got all of this other stuff is just too much anyway. Sorry, they couldn't have activated the white in their turn because of the Pithing Needle. Oh dear. Is there any point... I could go and get a Zuran Orb. That's not very fun. I just don't think we can beat this one. I think our opponent's deck is just going to be better than ours in the straight up mirror because they've got the extra bulk of the green cards that we just don't have. We just need to have an early Dauthi Voidwalker. Their removal is probably very light, so an early Dauthi Voidwalker is game, as we saw, but not always going to be the case. Okay, we've got an interesting one here. Moonshadow, a redraw, a bunch of stuff to fuel the Moonshadow. Sign me up. Here's the Moonshadow. Here is Bauble. Let's see what you're working with over there. Basic Forest. I will play out this Zuran Orb so that we are Thoughtseize proof. Well, that's not true because we're about to draw a card. But I don't want to lose my 1-off Zuran Orb. Right, we have a Nethergoyf who's kind of Thoughtseize proof in a weird way. Because he just does come back later on anyway. You have a Mire and a pass. Right, we're going to have a pretty good turn, I think. They're probably going to crop rotate this, I would imagine. Yeah. A Maze of Ith. Sure. Here's my Nethergoyf. Alright. We know they've got a forest in hand. So they do have some mana. Blast Zone, very good against us. I've seen some lands players cutting on Blast Zone, and I think that is just a wild thing to be doing in this world of ours right now. I think we are actually just wasting here on the Maze of Ith and allowing ourselves to push more damage. Because they need a lot of mana before they can pop this. In the meantime, we might just be able to kill them. This is going to be a 3-turn clock. They haven't got any like exploration stuff going on. We're not dead to a single Merit Lage hit due to Zuran Orb. Crack this. Let's go and get Undercity Sewers. A Dauthi Voidwalker. That is a pretty good one. This is just a 2-turn clock. They would need to have an Ancient Tomb here. Could have sacrificed both of these to put our opponent to 5. The Ancient Tomb then puts them to 3. I don't think it's worth sacrificing all of our lands, especially when we're about to cut off their options. Alright, we just did the aggro thing. Zuran Orb didn't do anything, but still looked like something I wanted to do stuff with at some point. I would like to have access to Surgical Extraction and Pithing Needle for a matchup like this. I'm not particularly in the Thoughtseize mode. What else do we want from here? Like none of the Sheoldred's Edict is pretty good at killing Mire. How much do I like these Fatal Pushes? And this bit of Triumph. They're not great. If they're running Elvish Reclaimer, which you sometimes see, then these can be good. But are any of these cards good? Not really. We just have a bunch of this, which doesn't do anything. Or we could maybe have some Thoughtseizes. Maybe we're doing like... I really don't like Thoughtseize in this matchup at all, but I don't know if we have better options. So 2 Fatal Pushes and a Sheoldred's Edict as our sort of removal options against a deck that generally isn't playing stuff we need to remove that much. Seems fine. I don't really like how our sideboard maps for lands. I did sort of take an existing list and modify it. But I did tinker with the sideboard a little bit, but I'm not sure the tools that we removed would particularly help either. This is probably not going to make it around the table. This isn't very strong. I think we can do a little bit better. Alright, this looks very aggressive. I think we can put back a Swamp here. We're just trying to be aggressive. Our opponent's probably holding up for a Source to Plowshares. Okay, I quite like that for us. Let's play the Bauble first. So we're guaranteed to make this larger. So if they do plow, we at least get 1 more life out of it. Alright, looks like we're in the green-white build of lands with the plows. There's 2 main builds of lands at the moment. One of them is mono-green, and one of them is green-white. The green-white obviously gets access to the plows, which is kind of quite a nice extra tool to have against aggro. But generally speaking, I've found lands is pretty good into aggro anyway. Malevolent Rumble. Crucible of Worlds. Big fan of this one. They don't get the plow here. They get one of these 2 lands or the Crucible. It's probably just the Crucible, right? They did indeed choose the Crucible. And now they're going to play out this expedition map that we knew about. Sure. Are we just getting this Dauthi in? I think we are. And we do it off of the Hatchery. A Ghost Quarter. A Crucible of Worlds. What is the plan here? We're definitely attacking with Dauthi Voidwalker. We're not playing and equipping the Shadowspear. I think we're just going for a Nethergoyf, Shadowspear, and we can either Surveil or we can get this Saga running. If we get the Saga running, it probably forces our opponent to use a Wasteland, which puts it away forever. I'm okay with that. If they lose their Wasteland into our Dauthi Voidwalker, then they can't get it back. Not that we're particularly susceptible to Wasteland. It gives us lines to make a bunch of tokens at some point. There is a Dark Depths. The texture on this game has changed somewhat. The Saga ticking up also gets us towards Eumidian Hatchery, which is how we can stave off the Dark Depths for a while. Putting a Windswept Heath into the Void. You've got it, opponent. They can go and get a Thespian Stage for next turn. So we need to gain a hit of life so that we're not immediately dead. And then we can fog for a few turns using Eumidian Hatchery plus the Zuran Orb. If they go for the Wasteland on the Saga before it pops, then they can stop that. A Pithing Needle. Is this on Urza's Saga? Or is it on the Shadowspear? It is on the Saga. Okay. So we're still going to get our Zuran Orb off of the Chapter 3 on that one. Let's equip it to this guy. Really need to get this hit in. Okay, that's pretty big. Let's get another Nethergoyf in. And play this Hatchery. So we're at 22. So we're not dead to Mire. Even if they can Lavaspur Boots up, which is why we need to gain their life this turn, because our opponent will have Lavaspur Boots in their deck. There is the Thespian Stage. And this Dauthi Voidwalker is pretty good at just cracking in a bunch of times. I think I'm going to stack a counter on my Eumidian Hatchery. Because this gives us the ability to get things going. We also have the Shadowspear, which can remove Indestructible from their creature, which is kind of nice. Go and get our... It is the Zuran Orb. Coming in sort of clutch. Yeah, just Zuran Orb up. Let's play this Bauble. Let's check our own library, because then we can see if we want to fetch or not. Okay, we do want to fetch. And then we'll get our Surveil land in. Polluted Delta, we don't need that. So, if we attack for 4, 5, 6, 7 and let them get the block off here. We're attacking for 7... 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is lethal on its own next turn. I think that's worth attacking in here. I'm willing to trade a Nethergoyf for 3 damage. Yep, you can have a 20-20. However, we're going to have a bunch of guys to block it, as well as much life as we need off the Zuran Orb. They can't block the Dauthi. They're going to plow it. We're going to Besage it. Do we care about that? We can turn off the indestructible of this. That doesn't really matter. Yes, I'll go and get a land here. Which gives us more stuff to sacrifice to our Zuran Orb. We're going to have some spare bodies left over from the hatchery that can attack as well for the final points of damage. We can escape this, can't we? 1, 2, 3. We've got artifact, land, creature. No, we can't bring it back without exiling itself, right? Why are they giving me the option to do that? Enchantment, land, artifact, and the creature is itself. So we're not bringing it back. Okay. A Wasteland. This can certainly stop some of the scary things our opponent can do to stop us getting those final points of damage in. Urza Saga, you got it. That's not particularly good right now. Shadowspear. Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? Did you just top deck that? I don't know if they did. That is a very good one, though. How is our plan around this? Not great. Is the answer to that one. I don't think we're blocking anymore. Anything in their exile that we can use here? We can get their Besage. That doesn't work because we have to do it from play. We can go in. Alright. Let's sacrifice this Eumidian Hatchery, make a bunch of guys. Go up to 21, and then we're going to have to sacrifice another land, so I guess we get rid of this Undercity Sewers. Is that true? Do we get rid of this hatchery? How much damage do you have? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're going to go to 22. So we're going to go to 1 after this connects. And then we're going to have to try and draw like Sheoldred's Edict that we put in. A Mishra's Bauble. So saying there's a chance that we can top deck it. Might as well look at the top card of your library. There's a Saga. Not exciting. There's no way that this damage, that this is going to be enough to blank our opponent. Which means we are just cracking in here. There's Wasteland. Let's see if the top drawer of our deck is kind to us. It was not. Okay. That does tell our opponent that we have Sheoldred's Edict, because that's pretty much the only thing we could draw in that spot. I imagine they've probably already anticipated that's the thing we have. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how we've got this. We can team up Shadowspear plus Fatal Push to kill their guys. That's sometimes fine. I think we're just going to roll it like this again. Zuran Orb very nearly won us that game, but our opponent happens to draw a Shadowspear. I really don't like these tools. We need to be pressure here. This is not pressure. We can maybe mess with their graveyard, but that's not going to be good enough a lot of the time. Okay, this is the best hand we've seen so far, but it does have a distinct problem. Get rid of this, and we get rid of this. Lavaspur Boots, probably. There is a significant problem with our opening hand, but we're on 5 here. We at least have the thing that shuts the graveyard down whilst applying pressure. I'll take that. I'd rather be in the land's shoes in this matchup anyway. Now, any sort of middle-of-the-road creature deck, lands is going to have a pretty good time into. Exploration, this is a good start for our opponent. And investment stage. They can make Marilage next turn. They've got the Shadowspear as well. Let's go for a Surveil Land. It is awkward in against their Wasteland deck to Surveil Land, but we need to find the swamp. Now we're in a weird situation. We can try and shut off their graveyard, or we can hold at this Wasteland so that we can try and deal with their combo, which I think is what we're going to do here. At least gives us something. Yep, so they did have it, so right to hold at the Wasteland. Are we playing out more Wastelands? Malevolent Rumble, sure. Well, they got to choose from Bloodstained. Urza Saga is very good here. I would quite like to get this Dauthi in before we start Wasteland and stuff, so we can keep stuff under wraps, so they can't get it back with the Life from the Lame as easily. I have to just find new copies of it. I can still make a 2020, so we can't go shields down on this. Alright, they're tapping out for another Rumble. I chose Expedition Map. So the problem here is twofold. If we play this Dauthi Voidwalker and Wasteland this, they got 2 mana that cracks this, they can just go again. Which means we have to play the Waste. Oh, I should have cast the Orcish Bowmasters at the end step. That's really bad. What are we doing? This can just go and get a Wasteland, which forces the issue, so we have to play out the second Wasteland. We could have been pressuring our opponent with a Bowmasters here. Not that there's a lot of pressure, but it would have been better than nothing. And there's a Saga. Yep, that's a different problem that we're going to have to deal with. If they tap low enough, they can give us the options to snipe some stuff out. Problem is, we can't break up their 2-card combo when they have a mystery third piece over here. So all they need to do is just wait, and then they win this game. We can't make the Bowmasters without giving them a 20/20. So missed that again. Obviously, this time we just literally can't do it because we just died to their friend. So now I like getting the Dauthi Voidwalker in here because this shuts down a bunch of their stuff. No life from the loam makes their Malevolent Rumbles, if they draw another one, worse. Swords to Plowshares. Okay, I have no idea how we can possibly win this game. Our opponent would have to make some horrible mistakes to lose this one. Because they can just ride this as a Saga to victory. And we can't really afford to interact with it very much. Polluted Delta. Okay, well, this is our solution, I guess. I think we're not going to crack this. We're just going to use it for green mana via the Yavimaya, because this gives us a thing that we can trigger the Moonshadow with later. And now we've got Barrowgoyf in. So this is a reasonable sized threat. It should outclass the constructs this turn, although if they put the Shadowspear on it, maybe not. I don't really want to trade my Barrowgoyf. Is there already an enchantment in the graveyard? There isn't. So this is going to grow our Barrowgoyf by 1? Yes, so now our Barrowgoyf will be enough to tussle. Oh no, there was already an expiration there. Apologies. No, it won't grow it. Pithing Needle. This is on Wasteland. And we're just 100% dead here. Yeah, we don't need to play this game anymore. That was incredibly one-sided. The one game we got is where we just ran a bunch of like really early pressure and our opponent wasn't ready for it. Yikes. Alright, on to round 3. Okay. We're going to have a big Moonshadow. Let's get this hatchery going. The Moonshadow out. Let's play this Bauble. Let's have a little peek over there. Storm Chaser's Talent. Cool. I'll wait till our opponent's turn so we can get to see their next card. Alright, Mr. in for us as well. You got it. Yep, there's the Storm Chasers. They didn't play off. Sorry, they can't play off this thing because this is on top of their library, isn't it? Let's draw our little card here. Do I want to... I think we just want to go pressure, pressure, pressure here. This is Wasteland. Take this out. Get above red removal if our opponent's doing some rug stuff. This also protects us from days. So if they force of all this, it will grow our Moonshadow, so you want to play it pre-combat. Alright, so we're getting a force here. What are they pitching? Ponder, sure. You can grow your Otter. This can't block our Menace creature anyway. Nethergoyf becomes a graveyard card that triggers our Moonshadow. Swinging in for 5 on turn 2. Not too shabby. If they hold this back to block, like alongside like some other guy, we can just hit one of them with this Fatal Push if they're in blocking mode. Boomerang Basics. This is one of the reasons why I think Nethergoyf is much stronger than Moonshadow. Because now we're back down to nothing with this guy. Let's see what we draw. A Lavaspur Boots. I am okay to play this Dauthi. There is the potential of a Daze here. But I think they might have pitched the Daze to the Force of Will if they had it last turn. So we managed to get in with the Dauthi. A Wasteland. Are you going to take out my hatchery and give me some guys? A Corrie Steelcutter. Do they have something to go with this? A Bauble. So we're going to get attacked a reasonable amount here. But we've got some removal spells we can use. We can go Moonshadow, possibly Lavaspur Boots equip if we draw a land. If we draw a Wasteland, we can go like Moonshadow, play the Lavaspur Boots, blow up our Eumidian Hatchery, have a bunch of little guys. But now our opponent is the aggro, but they've only got 1 card in hand. So if we can just leverage this stuff in our hand, we'll be okay. A Shadowspear. It's not really the one I wanted, unfortunately. Okay, we'll play out this Moonshadow. Have we got anything useful? Not really. I think we're just going to crack in with this Dauthi and then attempt to kill one of these creatures in combat. Maybe we're supposed to kill it on our turn so that they're less likely to get the prowess triggers to pump it if something goes wrong. We've got a Ponder here. We want our opponent's damage calculations to be wrong as well. I need to draw that Zuran Orb, weirdly. Just get this Eumidian Hatchery and a couple of life would be pretty clutch in this matchup. A second Wasteland. Push the Monk. It just worked. Okay, we can take 2 here. What's in our opponent's hand? Hard to say. A Swamp, you say. Shadowspear. Alright, we're getting a Force of Will over there. This will grow our Moonshadow. What about a Lavaspur Boots? So we attack for 3 here. We can hold this back to Force of Will something. Alright, they've conceded here because we've got 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know, I don't think this game is 100% over, but do they know the top card of the library? I can't remember if they shuffled that Ponder. Alright, Toxic Deluge. That seems reasonable here. Removal spell. Seems reasonable. Nothing else really striking me as things I want. The Hymn to Tourach actually is pretty good. Nihil Spellbomb is okay, but I don't think we need it. I think these tools look better. Bowmasters, great. Bit of Triumph, great. All this stuff looks very solid. Do I need this Lavaspur Boots? Uncertain how important the Lavaspur Boots is. We can take that out. And that gets us the Deluge in case they go super wide, super early. If we want the Hymn, though, it's going to be hard to fit that in. Trim on a Bauble. I do like what the Hymn does for us, though. We're not super big on sorceries either, so it's just another type for our Goyfs. Yeah, this hand seems fine. Storm Chaser's Talent. You got it. I will deploy this Eumidian Hatchery. Would I prefer to shoot this Otter or the Monk if they make Corey Steelcutter next turn? Probably the Monk, which can be a little bit awkward for us. Now they might play something like a Dragon's Rage Channeler, which we definitely like to point this Fatal Push at. Ponder on the Otter, sure. The issue with just pointing this Fatal Push straight away is that our opponent can then counter it and get the prowess. But you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Dragon's Rage Channel. I would rather hit that with a Fatal Push than the Otter. The Otter is coming in for 3 this turn. They're super close to flipping this Channeler. Wasteland, that doesn't do it. So we wait till after combat then. This is 3 damage now. This is probably 3 damage next turn, whilst also being card selection. So I do think it is right to hit this. Days will be good here. Okay, they just F6 through that. Hymn to Tourach is a big beating for our opponent if we can get it off here. Yeah, I'm willing to take away half my opponent's hand. Oh, they had a Daze though. That is unfortunate for us. Now this Nethergoyf is starting to get to the size where it actually can contend with an Otter. We might be doing some wastelanding of our own land soon. Boomerang basics targeting their own Storm Chaser's Talent. It's pretty good. So they get a prowess trigger here and here. This also gets to make guys again. Or make a guy again, I should say. And they can set up like a loop with Boomerang basics in the late game where they rebuy it, bounce it, play it, rebuy it, and so on and so forth. A swamp. Is that what we want to be doing here? We've got an instant. We don't have a land. If we want to do a land, we have to blow up our own hatchery here. Let's go for another Goyf. Let's get this wasteland in. So we could bid a Triumph, or we could wasteland our own Eumidian Hatchery, which would give us the power to trade into this. Not sure if I like that though. Bit of Triumph on the Channeler is awkward because this is our best answer to a Murktide Regent as well. Pyrokinesis. We can grow this by 1. That's not enough to survive. What do they pitch this? An Abrade. You got it. So I guess we're probably just on the trying to blow up the Channeler with our bit of Triumph plan. Yep. Storm Chaser's Talent is good. I guess we have to discard a card here. And what do we discard? I guess it's the Swamp. Because maybe having this Hatchery for black mana is fine. And then we want this Saga to tick up and get us something that gets us out of this spot. Opponent's only got 1 card in hand, but we've been in that position before and it didn't work out so well for us. Alright, black, Dauthi, play Saga. We can cut ourselves off of black and get 4 1/1 tokens, which is probably something we have to do this turn cycle. The life from the old Hatchery not being entirely free here. And a Braid targeting my poor defenseless Dauthi Voidwalker. Yep. Lightning Bolt to my dome. Okay. Take out the Hatchery. It's going to blocks. We could trade for 1 and take 3. I don't hate that. That still gives us 1 to block a flying creature later on. We are just dead to Lightning Bolt. And if they find the mana, they can get that. Okay. Well, that's pretty much the best card in our deck. So let's just jam this Barrowgoyf and pass. You got 1 turn to draw Lightning Bolt. I don't know if they know the top of their deck. I don't think they do here. They can draw land and buy back Oh, a Brainstorm. That's not a bad way to try and find it. Lightning Bolt or bust. There it is. Our opponent deserved to win this one, to be fair. They did a really good job at managing the pressure they're putting out. Alright. Do you want to do anything differently here? I don't think so. Let's just send it in again. I think being on the play is kind of huge in this matchup. This is not a keepable hand. That's mulligan. Alright. I'm willing to believe in this one. I'm going to put back one of the Thoughtseizes. What are we doing to start this game off with? Are we Thoughtseizing on the play here? Or are we getting our guy down? It's probably the Thoughtseize first. Brazen Borrower, a Braid, Brainstorm, Brainstorm. Yikes. We could just get rid of the removal spell, or we could just take out one of these Brainstorms. I think those are the only viable options for us here. I think we're going to take out the Braid. If there's only one Brainstorm, that'll make our life a little bit easier. A Wasteland. We getting a 1-1 guy? Sure, we're getting a 1-1 guy. Now, unfortunately for us, that is our only black source. I was hoping our opponent wouldn't try and remove that black source, because you tend not to want to burn a Wasteland on a Eumidian Hatchery, especially when you know we're running Urza Saga. But sometimes just nipping it in the bud early is the good thing to do as well. Alright, deck. Be kind. Alright, don't be kind. Now they can borrow our token away at some point. I think we're just going to try and get a little bit of life in while we can. If our opponent wants to spend their entire turn bouncing our insect token, that's fine, because any land gives us this... Well, not any land. We could draw our come into play tap land. But any other land will give us our Urza Saga construct, which can start rumbling. Alright, they're just in damage control mode. That's fine by me. Ah, deck. Why are you like this? We don't have any mana sources we can get off of this. Right, they've got a Ponder and a Brainstorm. Kind of interesting to stack it this way, instead of doing the Brainstorm and having the Ponder as a way of shuffling that Brainstorm if you need. This suggests to me that my opponent likes the cards in their hand. Because Brainstorm is when you have cards that you don't really want in hand, you can put them back and move some stuff around that way. Whereas Ponder is, I like this stuff in my hand, I just want like one extra good thing in my hand. Right, here comes a Brainstorm. They're not cracking this fetch. They didn't shuffle off the Ponder. So it's not looking great for us, because that means they've got a bunch of things that are useful to them. Storm Chaser's Talent, sure. I believe our ability to win this game. Okay, it's maybe our window is gone now. Guess we'll get this Bauble. At least gives us a redraw. They've got a Bauble on top as well. Hurry Steel Cutter. We already know they've got the Bauble to follow this up. So now they've got just so much pressure. Now, Barrowgoyf is going to be unkillable for them. But they're going to be able to bounce it. They've got more bounce spells than normal from sort of like a tempo style deck. Because they're going to have some number of Brazen Borrowers and probably 4 Boomerang Basics. So they might just be able to tempo us out by just keep making us replay the Barrowgoyf and it goes away. The one thing that is not so terrible for us is the fact that we did draw our Swamp here. But we're getting hit for, what, 7 this turn? Have they played the... They haven't played the Bauble yet, actually. So we're going to get hit for 9. No, they're just saving this Bauble for next turn to make sure they can double spell. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yikes. Which is a little bit cursed, isn't it? I think this is just play the Nethergoyf. It's big, it roadblocks. Moonshadow on a board like this is unplayably bad. If they've got a land, they can then rebuy this Boomerang Basics, just bounces out of the way. A Brainstorm, you got it. There's a Ponder. They bounce our guy out. 4, 8, 12, 16. Okay, this is just a lethal attack, regardless of what life total we're on, pretty much, right? They're going to hit us for 19 with what's in play right now. Disgusting. All right, we are really struggling here. 1-2s all the way down. Let's go to round 4. Okay, we can keep this. We've got turn 1, Thoughtseize, turn 2, Voidwalker, turn 3, start ticking up our Saga whilst slapping a Shadowspear on our Dauthi Voidwalker. That's fine. Sandstone Needle. Are we playing against the Mississippi River deck? It could just be Ruby Storm, though. I have seen this card in Ruby Storm decks. And I think it's actually good in the Ruby Storm decks, for sure. But we're about to have a look at our opponent's hand, and we'll find out. A second Thoughtseize might be quite a useful one here. Our opponent is on Ruby Storm. What do we take here? This is like the velocity. So let's do some maths. They play this out. They have 4 mana. Then they go up to 7 mana. They go down. So they go up to 8 mana. They can do this. Ugh. Not liking where this is looking for us. Yeah. This is a difficult hand to pinch, because if we take like the Ren's Resolve, it goes into the graveyard, and then they get to just do a Storm of Memories that plays all of this hand all over again. If we take the Burning Wish, they don't get that line. So I think we probably end up on the Burning Wish, but that is a hard hand to beat. Especially since they're going to be up to 4 mana already just from lands. Like, they probably kill us this turn most of the time. Like, we could take the Seething Song, but then there's still 4 mana here. 5 mana. And then they can just keep digging. They could just, like, Ren's Resolve, dig, stock up for the turn afterwards. Maybe that's okay. I think if we leave them with Burning Wish, if they don't kill us with Storm of Memories this turn, they do it next turn. Alright, our opponent has just let it rip here. I had a little brief down window on my recording there where I missed a couple of plays, but it's fine. So we got so they went Ritual into Seething Storm Ritual. They found the Storm of Memories after a couple of rituals and Remedallion. We are 100% dead here. Our opponent's got all this mana, all this other stuff going on. They get to Burning Wish. It's going to be tough for us to do anything here. They've got 13 mana. They have 1 Storm of Memories still on the stack, so whatever they get here, they get to cast twice. So you just go for like a big draw spell, if it's an instant speed one. Empty the Warrens. Okay. Oh, sorry, that was the last one from the thing. Okay, so we're just going to get hit by an Empty the Warrens in a minute. This is also going to pop off. We don't need to see any more of this. I missed like 10 seconds of my opponent's turn there, and it all snowballed out. Okay. Grafdigger's Cage seems pretty good against the Storm of Memories. Circular Extraction might do something sometimes. Mindbreak Trap looks very good here. Toxic Deluge can kill there into the Warren's plan. And that's probably it. Him to Tourach as well, actually. We don't want Bitter Triumph. Fatal Push does kill Ral, which is not nothing. They don't really draw extra cards, so Bowmaster's not actually very exciting. Maybe we're getting rid of a couple of removal spells. Like, how often are we ever going to be able to tag the Ral? Not that often, I wouldn't imagine. Nihil Spellbomb. Like, if we're boarding Grafdigger's Cage and Surgicals, the Spellbomb's probably good too. Maybe we just trim a land somewhere. Be slightly lower to the ground. So what we've got. Am I supposed to keep a hand with Mindbreak Trap? Like, we just keeping Mindbreak Trap and then nothing else and our hand goes nowhere. That can't be right. I think we have to mulligan, surely. This hand sucks, so we're going to send this back. Alright, this is the best one so far. Are we just going to Thoughtseize our opponent on 1 and then immediately die? I'm going to keep this Bauble because it's a redraw for Mindbreak Trap. Keep a threat. 2 of these cards have got to go. Probably one of the guys, maybe? Or do we just get rid of like these 2 and just try and pressure our opponent as much as possible? I can see that. Right, let's Bauble them first. We get maximum amount of information about how we need to interact with their hand for the purposes of this Thoughtseize. Our opponent's on 6. Reckless Impulse. Okay, so they've got Reckless Impulse on top. How bad is this going to be for us? They've got Ral. That guy's obviously pretty irritated. We've got another turn here before anything happens. Storm of Memories is obviously pretty scary for us. Is it just the Ral? Problem is, Storm of Memories is going to pop off at some stage. No, I think we take the cost reducer. We did not draw the Mindbreak Trap. We did draw the second Black Source. We do get to make both Nethergoyfs. It's exciting. The pressure is on. We've got 6 power on turn 2. I assume this is just going to be a Reckless Impulse. There it is. What do we find? A Leyline of the Void and a Burning Wish. An Undercity Sewers. This has the potential to find us something, or we can start cranking this up. So this could find us something that pumps these for another damage this turn. It could find us some disruption the following turn. I think Saga's too slow. Moonshadow. We don't have any creatures in the bin. Let's just put this into the graveyard. We're just digging towards Mindbreak Trap is our plan here. This is 8 damage. If we can... How are we going to put another type in the graveyard? With great difficulty, I would imagine. Another Reckless Impulse. Storm of Memories over there. Alright, they just got nothing off the previous impulse. Nice. Attack. Our opponent has to kill us next turn. I think they're going to, looking at the tools they have available. We did not find our Mindbreak Trap. We might have been better off just keeping that hand that had the one of Mindbreak Trap and nothing else going on. which is sad. Alright, here comes all of the nonsense. I don't know if they respect the Mindbreak Trap. They might be able to play around it because they have access to 2 Storm of Memories anyway. So they can generate enough mana to cast both, then we're in trouble. The Ral is making all these spells cheaper. They're turning Manamorphose into a cantripping ritual. This is 2 mana to make 5s. This is like a thresholded Cabal ritual. So our win condition is our opponent losing all these flips on the Ral. Because every time they lose a flip, they go and take a life. Okay, they can flip this now. They declined the flip. Okay, so we still got a chance. Because they need to get enough stuff before they flip it to get the Mind's Desire mode. So maybe they just fail the flips here. They chose head, they flipped heads. They're not flipping the Ral. Just lose some flips, please. Alright, they're at 2. Game is entirely out of our hands. It's literally coming down to 2 coin flips now. Our opponent should have this one. But it could go wrong for them. Oh, okay, they're at 1. The next spell they cast, they have to win the flip or they die. It's coming down to an exciting coin flip. If they win the flip, they flip the Ral, and then we die. Oh, it worked. Alright, that's the end of the game. They're definitely going to be able to win the game with all the tools they have. We got them to 1. Wasn't quite enough. Alright, we are 4 rounds down, and we cannot put a win on the board. Let's see if we can avoid the reverse trophy in the final round. Okay, this hand looks fine. Moonshadow doesn't really have the stuff to fuel it, neither does the Nethergoyf, but it doesn't take much. And maybe one dying will fuel another one. Alright, let's get the Moonshadow going. If it dies, at least the Nethergoyf will be fueled by it. And maybe we get to... We can do some weird stuff with Bowmasters where we can ping itself. That's not really what I want to do. Maybe we'll just draw a fetch land. Or we can do a Wasteland and we can just get another Shadow in, Wasteland them. All of a sudden, our board's starting to look pretty sweet. Chrome Mox. Oh, we just get comboed. To be fair, their name is Tez Jesus and Tez is like the Epic Storm. So, it's not a shocker that our opponent might just be trying to combo us out here. Simian Spirit Guide. So we might be looking at the Epic Gamble. This is the vibe I'm getting. Okay. I failed the Mirror Break here. Maybe it's just some sort of Red Prison deck. That's a possibility. I much prefer that for us. So it says a Saga going. If they want to do a Blood Moon, it's going to cost them here. In their upkeep, we're going to play the Bowmaster, put 1 point damage on this. That way, if they cycle any cards with a Fable the Mirror Breaker, they'll lose their Goblin Shaman token. So it kind of locks in the bad cards in their hand. There's not a way that we can get them with this. They still get to make the choice once the Bowmaster's in play. It's not like they make the choice and then we can ping the guy. So we might lose 1 damage by not going to face here, but we're stopping our opponent looting a card, which is worth doing in my opinion. You gonna change any cards up, or are you wanting this Shaman alive? I think the idea is you either cycle 0 cards or 2 cards in this board state. I think it's wrong to do 1. Obviously we don't know what's in our opponent's hand. There could be a bunch of things that change that. Okay, we successfully stopped them from looting. If they play a 1 ring and tap it, we at least get to take out the Shaman token here. Fury is a card our opponent can have that would be very good into our board. Okay, they did have the Fury. What do they pitch for this? Assuming Spirit Guide. Okay. So we're going to lose 2 cards worth to this Fury. This is actually a fair exchange, but they're going to get a treasure now that they maybe wouldn't have got otherwise. And hopefully they won't be able to follow it up. This will grow our Nethergoyf somewhat. We're getting creatures in there. Oh, they did this in a way that left us with the Orc Army token. I wonder why they did that. Curious. I will take this trade. I wasn't expecting to even have that Orc Army, so getting a trade off there is fine. Didgeridoo! Oh, alright, our opponent's on the Spice. They're playing Minotaurs. That is a very different prospect. Okay. What are we supposed to do about this, one wonders? Well, we're definitely playing out our land. We could just try and grind some Saga value. How much value is that? Not the most. We can get Pithing Needle next turn for this, which is probably where we need to be. I think I'm just going to make a construct here. Our opponent's pretty low on resources here. If we can just leverage the fact that we have more resources, even though a lot of their cards are going to be better than ours, you know, like Barrowgoyf. I guess they're not running Barrowgoyf probably because they're doing Didgeridoo stuff. But a lot of the Minotaurs are pretty big. So we need to make sure that we're getting the value from our cards here. We're not under the pressure that we That's all we'll be worried about. Let's go and get ourselves a Pithing Needle here. Alright, they're activating the didgeridoo. At the beginning of combat, one target creature attacks or blocks. This turn is favourable, one target can't attack or block. Alright. This is a lot of nonsense to put up with. We don't actually have a Pithing Needle in the main, do we? Ah. Interesting. What do we do here? Zuran Orb. Let's get Moonshadow in. So they can just make our construct attack into their Boros Battle Shaper here. Yep. Not great. This won't trigger our Moonshadow either. But we can grow the Moonshadow enough that maybe it's okay. But this is just going to dominate combat. Are we going to get didgeridooed out of this league? There's a Saga. That's a pretty strong one. They're copying the Boros Battle Shaper. So we can't block. They attack us for 10. Well. They can also choose one of our guys to not attack next turn. How are we going to beat this? We need to draw a removal spell. We need to be able to kill at least one of their guys. Revolt is not going to be a problem for our deck because we can just Zuran Orb it. But this is... Okay. Attacks each combat favorable, blocks each combo. How much damage am I willing to... This is the real one. We could just sack a bunch of our stuff. If we sack this, we get up to 2... We have to sack 2 lands here to kill this guy. Like, we're doing it. I don't like it. But here we are. If we can get rid of the real one, they can't copy anymore. Now, it is unfortunate for us that we only have 1 land, but we have a 3/4. That's not nothing. It's certainly bigger than this Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. A Fatal Push. I don't think we can afford to sacrifice a land just to push this guy. Then we need to get our threat in. Maybe we have to do that next turn. Alright, opponents. They can't even brick because they've just got an Urza Saga, which is a perfectly good way to spend their mana when they've already got 2 artifacts in play. 1, 2, 3 power guy. That's quite scary. A Wasteland. Okay. I'm into Wastelanding our opponent's Urza Saga here. Big fan of that. Gonna make a guy. Which one is this? Afflict. Whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 3 life. Beginning of each of your post-combat main phases, add 1 for each 1 life your opponent lost this turn. That is quite a big customer, isn't it? That's a 4/6. Let's kill this Reflection. Now we've got Revolt. This is Neheb the Eternal. Yikes. The old zombie Minotaur warrior. We're not blocking. So we'll take 4. We can crack back for a decent amount here. If we draw a land, we can stick on the Lavaspur Boots. They've got a lot of mana here, though. So if they have an actual Minotaur, they can just cast it. They can obviously just didgeridoo it as well. Or the One Ring, why not? Oh, team. Our opponent's having way more fun than we are. That's not how we like to play Magic the Gathering. Didgeridoo. Another Nethergoyf. Whenever this creature becomes blocked. So I think that only triggers once if we double block it. Our opponent doesn't have great attacks here. Now that can change because they can just put in some ridiculous Minotaur and get us. Alright, here comes the didgeridoo again. Boros Battle Shaper. Well, this sucks for us because they can choose one of our creatures to not be able to block. And then one of our creatures that has to block. And then they can just force us to take 3. Or they can make it so neither one and then we take 4. So this cannot attack or block. Sure. So I can take 3 here from this. Maybe we should have blocked last turn. We had that available, didn't we? 3 is. Alright, we'll just take some damage here. Now that our opponent's tapped out, we don't have to worry about them. I guess they could still Fury here. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know. I've kind of lost the will to play this particular deck right now. Oh, jeez. Another Battle Shaper. Toxic Deluge for 5 that's not even in our deck right now. Or for 6 even. I don't know what we're supposed to do here. We're just going to get Minotaured out. Alright. I guess this is a Null Rod matchup. Probably not going to be a Nihil Spellbomb matchup. I do like the Lavaspur Boots. So all of this stuff seems real bad if we're boarding in the Null Rods, doesn't it? Like, how much can we get rid of here? What else are we bringing in? I would like this, and I would like the Hymn to Tourach. I probably like the Deluge here, and the Pithing Needle. So we get one of these back in. It's going to be the Zuran Orb. Love me a Zuran Orb. Is that true? Or do we want to just have a bunch of like baubles so that we can fire them off early doors? Maybe it is correct to have a bauble. I don't really want lots of baubles though. Alright, we'll try it like this. We need to not get the 05 this league, please. Well, no second black source. We do have a Thoughtseize. That's something. We've got a threat. I think I'm okay to keep this one. There's definitely some sketchy elements to it. Well, that is the world that we find ourselves living in with our deck, because it's a little bit sketchy. Maybe a little bit too saucy. Oh, jeez. They have no actual red mana if we take this Chrome Mox. I guess they can have a one-off with the Sinner Spirit guy. They got a Fury. That's going to kill our guys. This can deal 3 damage. That's a lot. Which one is this? Whenever this or another non-token Minotaur you control enters, make another Minotaur. Is it just a Fury? I think it is just a Fury here. Because we can't deploy anything and pressure our opponent while they have that Fury, really. The other option was to go after the mana and then try and leverage the Wasteland. I think that's a reasonable plan, but then we won't have the pressure to actually do anything, right? If they can just kill our threat and just sit there and draw some lands, and then they'll be fine. So I think we had to get rid of the thing that's going to remove our pressure. An Ancient Tomb has hit the battlefield. Are we doing anything with that Ancient Tomb? Chrome Mox. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Simian Spirit Guide go under here, but maybe they've got other ideas. Alright, the Simian Spirit Guide is living its best life as a permanent mana source. Alright, Nethergoyf, Wasteland. Let's take out this big chunk of mana here. Alright, we're kind of moving. We've got a Dauthi Voidwalker, which is pressure, which is one of the things that we needed here. I assume we're going to see Cavern of Souls on Minotaur here. Not a sight you see a great deal. A Moonshadow. Is that even good here? Doesn't feel good here. I think we're attacking with the Nethergoyf. We can work our way towards Pithing Needle, but we don't really cast anything if we do that this turn. We can just cast a Moonshadow. I could get Dauthi Voidwalker and get some more clock going, or I could work towards Pithing Needle. This is already an answer for Pithing Needle, so I'm not convinced by that. Alright, I think we're just going to go for Dauthi Voidwalker and hope that we can get enough pressure in before the Fiery Confluence is actually a valid Wrath. So there's 1 damage to each creature. So if we can grow the Nethergoyf just a little bit, it'll get out of range. A Chrome Mox, so they might be able to Fiery Confluence this turn, which would certainly take us aback. What is underneath that? That is Neheb, so we didn't know about that one. So I'll be looking at Sethron. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they can cast this guy. Alright, Fiery Confluence. They are just going to kill our board. That is an awkward one. I was hoping we get another turn and maybe we get to stack some stuff up there. Alright, happy to have a bit of triumph here. Pretty good at killing a massive guy. How many different types we've got? Sorcery, land, creature. So we need 1 more type before we can exile for the Nethergoyf. It's this guy. I'm going to pay 3 life to kill this Minotaur. Get out of here. We're probably... I guess it depends what we draw, really. Alright. We're just getting in with this Moonshadow. It's going to grow next turn when the Urza Saga pops. I don't even know if we're worried about Pithing Needle anymore. I think I'm more worried about them just hard casting Minotaurs, because they're up to that much mana now. So we can make a guy. We can Fatal Push this. I think I'm willing to just take the damage from this guy. I would rather Fatal Push like the Fabled Mirror Breaker or something. Oh, that's a pretty interesting one, isn't it? Doing right now... I think we do need the guy. And then we get the Pithing Needle when we name Didgeridoo, I think. Or do we name the One Ring? No. Didgeridoo. Alright, we worked out how to spell it in the end. It's going to pump our little Moonshadow here. Get in for 5. This Ancient Tomb is costing them a fair bit. Next turn we can get this Null Rod down. So if they play the One Ring, they get to cycle it once and then we get to shut it down. I just need them to not play a giant guy. Now, their deck is all about playing giant guys. So it's entirely possible they do that. But we have 3, 6, 7, 8 damage. So we do have lethal on the crapback next turn. Just pass the turn this time. I didn't like that white mana that I just saw into the pool there. Oh, this guy. This guy can do one. He's a scary boy. They're going to make it so my construct can't block. Oh no, they decided not to do that. I think we are going to Fatal Push this. If we'd have cast the Null Rod, we could have stopped this guy entering because we could have turned off his Chrome Moxes. Unfortunately, that is not how this worked out for us. Right, here is Null Rod. Here is Nethergoyf. It's huge. They're going to make us attack here. So they make a construct attack, and then they make the other construct not attack. Alright, they're just letting us have that one. Okay, I'll take it. Alright, 1 game. This feels like a big game because we need to not have an 0-5. Do I like what we've done here? We've got a redraw off of our Saga. We've got the Pithing Needle. Is that enough? Probably. Like the Shadowspear was also something I was thinking maybe I wanted it there. Same with the Lavaspur Boots. Problem is, to get any of these things, we have to cut stuff. Is it the Thoughtseize? I don't think so. I think Thoughtseize is actually pretty good if our opponent's trying to have a bunch of these massive guys in their hand that they eventually get into play. The Thoughtseize looks a lot better. Alright, I think this is what we're doing. Thoughtseize into Dauthi with a redraw. It's something. Alright, I will keep this one. We've got a Surveil land as well in amongst this. Here is a Chromox, imprinting Boros Battle Shaper. They've also got a Cavern of Souls out. We're getting a Chalice. A Trinisphere. Oh, what? What's happening? I really wanted to not go 0-5 this league, but it seems like the Gods of Magic are against us. Okay, at least they're not doing anything themselves. Probably means their hand is just like more big guys. I don't think we need another land. Well, we do, just we need them in play, not in our hand. Oh, a Toxic Deluge. That could actually be clutch here. Alright, they're getting the Urza Saga in. So, Wasteland would be a nice draw for us. Or are they going to play some big guy that we're going to have to answer? Oh, jeez. It's going to be big. Is it Neheb? It's like the 4-6. Yeah, there's Neheb. It's a 4-6 guy. Are we going to have to just Toxic Deluge this? Maybe. Oh dear, oh dear. One card in our opponent's hand. We still have to beat the Urza Saga is the problem. And it is a real problem. I think we're always playing the swamp here. I don't think we can afford to do hatchery stuff just yet. Are we Toxic Deluging for 6 right now? Or are we going to take 8 from this? That's the problem, because we take 8 and then also the Saga does its thing. One card in our opponent's hand. I don't think we're Thoughtseizing. It's either Deluge, Voidwalker, or Bauble, weirdly. We could pay 3 mana to draw a card here. But then we're just going to get hit by so much damage. This actually ends up saving us life, but then this is our answer to these. But let's say we take 4, we go down to 15. Next turn we take another 4, so we go down to 12. The turn after, we take 4 plus 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so we're just 100% dead. So I think we just have to Toxic Deluge and just get rid of the guy right now. It is a 6 toughness guy. Alright, goodbye, Neheb. I think we're in a lot of trouble. Another Urza Saga. I wonder if they have the land to get all of the tokens out of this one or not. A Fatal Push. Well, I guess that's what we're doing this turn. I don't know if I want to be ticking up this hatchery or not. Our life total is not as high as I would like it to be. Here it is. So our plan is to try and Fatal Push the one that's going to get the equipment, which is what I assume is happening from this Urza Saga. If we've got Ancient Tomb, they can also get the constructs out of the second Saga here. No fast mana. Actually, no, I suppose Simon's Spirit Guide and a land will do it. But they can't use Chrome Mox to do it because of the Trinisphere. Okay, here is another construct. What are we getting off of this? Is it just a Didgeridoo? Is it Lavaspur Boots, which puts us in a horrible position next turn as well? It is the Lavaspur Boots. We have a response. This is a Fatal Push on the one it's targeting, which is the one on the right. Sure. Makes sense that you would target the one that wants the haste. Here we go. That shrinks their construct, saves us a bunch of damage. Another Saga. I don't know if you play that Saga out. I guess if you just really want to get 5 damage through, but I don't know if just having more tokens is worth it, because we don't really have a way of catching up, so you don't need to get the game over and done with. Like, I think our opponent can just kind of click on cards randomly and win the game here. So next turn we get hit for lethal. Yep. We got Didgeridoo. Yikes. Well, if you look at this one, we went 1-2 for 4 rounds. The only matchup we just absolutely lost was the mono red storm deck, and that was brutal. Now we could have kept a hand that had nothing apart from Mindbreak Trap. I don't think that's the way to play that one, but that matchup felt absolutely brutal for us. All the other matchups were 1-2, and the deck definitely is better than an 0-5 deck. 100% guarantee you it's better than an 0-5 deck. But it was an 0-5 today, and the mark of shame must be placed upon my head. So obviously, we knew we were getting spicy. You don't just put Zuran Orb into your aggro deck without having the quality of your deck decrease a little bit. But I did like what Zuran Orb was doing. I don't necessarily think this is the right way to go about it. I think what we could do is we could play a red-black version of Moonshadow with 4 Eumidian Hatcheries and something like Greater Gargadon, which is a card that I love a great deal. And then you've just got this thing that allows you to sacrifice your hatchery and it also allows you to sacrifice a bunch of stuff to do Moonshadow. So you could end up getting in some really interesting turns where you can sacrifice your board to a Moonshadow, get your Gargadon, just be attacking with a 7/7 Moonshadow and your huge Gargadon at the same time and overwhelming people. That is something I'm interested in trying out at some point. Essentially what we did today is we took a good deck in the mono black deck. I don't think it's the best deck in the format, but I think it's pretty solid. I like its matchup into blue-black tempo, which is a big deal. But we took that deck and we made it worse. I don't think we made it as worse as the results for today would indicate. What the deck is doing is just fine. Things just kind of slipped the wrong way for us a little bit. We did trip over ourselves a couple of times. Like there was a game we just lost to a Wasteland. And that is unfortunate and isn't going to happen with builds where you have a bunch more basics instead of things like Hatchery and Saga. But, you know, Saga did some stuff for us. I enjoyed doing Zuran Orb things. It gave us an out against the lands deck. Unfortunately, they drew their one of Shadowspear. If they didn't, then the Zuran Orb would have 100% won us that game and that match. And obviously, if the Wasteland didn't just take out our only black source against the Otter deck, then, you know, we probably had a good chance of winning that game. Our hand was really good. So the margins we lost by were actually relatively small. But if you want to play if you want to play all these cards, you can play all these cards in a better shell than the shell we're playing. I think experimenting with the Zuran Orb was certainly a curious one. I won't say a good one. But the idea of sacrificing lands is something that definitely vibes with this Moonshadow, and we can probably lean into that more heavily in a different colour build in the future. I really liked the Hogak deck we played against in one of the rounds. It was doing some of the sort of stuff that we were doing with Moonshadow, but they just went bigger and chunkier. I actually have a mono black Hogak build that I would like to put on the channel at some point as well. There's only so many videos I get to put out a week. It's a good time where you have more things you want to play than you have time to play. And for quite a while over the last 2 years, that wasn't always the case. So we are definitely in a better spot. And we didn't even have any non-games via Tamiyo today. That's always a good experience to avoid. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this one. Not the most successful one. Apologies for that. I don't really think I can recommend playing this deck. Not just because of the record, just because of what it's doing. But there was some interesting stuff in here that you could maybe leverage if you were to change things up quite a bit. But if you just want to play a stock sort of Monoblack Aggro deck, I really like that build. I do prefer the builds that don't have Dark Ritual. I know some people are pretty high on Dark Ritual. I just don't think is where you want to be in the Monoblack Aggro deck. You want all your cards to be pretty good at doing what they're doing. And sometimes just drawing this mid-game Dark Ritual is really brutal. When we're trying to win with 1-drops anyway, I don't think you need the Dark Ritual. I would rather just have more 1-drops and then more stuff to back them up, instead of just some card disadvantage off of the rituals. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and check out my sponsors 3for1 Trading in the description to buy all of your Zuran Orbs from. Alright, thank you so much again and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.